Hello, I'm Jemima Kiss and I'm here with Dan Garraway and Steve Callanan, who are co-founders of wireWAX, which I'd describe as video tagging. Steve, how would you describe it?
I guess that is right. There is a traditional kind of term, video tagging, that's normally associated with kind of metadata that you would manually add to a video. So when you upload a video to YouTube, for example, it asks you to add sort of tag words.
Yes, it sounds like old internet.
Yes, absolutely. And with us, it's much more about sort of tagging the sort of physical moving objects that appear within the content. So it's much more specific to the actual features within the content itself. So
more like Facebook photos.
Exactly. So if you're tagging a face in a Facebook photo, it's essentially the same thing.
So tell us about the background there. You both came from broadcasting. So how did you make that journey from quite an old-fashioned industry into basically an e-commerce space?
So we started in production. We ran a production company for near on 10 years, and it was we started in television production doing long-form observational documentaries. And we sort of kind of moved away from that and started doing much more commercial content, so doing things like movie trailers and music videos and adverts and that sort of thing. And then we started doing almost exclusively short-form video content with brands and publishers for online. And it was during creating those videos and actually seeing them out there in the digital web, it was kind of amazing that people were sort of frustrated that they could watch these videos and see all the products that featured in them, but they couldn't actually buy them directly, other than kind of going to Google and searching for them and, going through those sort of channels. So the obvious solution was come up with a piece of technology where people could click on the products themselves and then go directly to the product page and buy them. And that's where the idea for wireWAX came about.
Interactive technology in general has always been attacked from sort of technology people. And I think what's been key about the success we've got commercially, particularly recently, working with broadcasters as well as record labels and fashion brands, is that we've made a product which viewers are enjoying and want to interact with, and building it as part of the experience. We're now talking about interactive video being 50% of the creative, so not just sort of making a video and then tacking this interactive on the end. Making videos that are designed to be interactive and experiential, and it's only when that sort of is provided to the viewer they're going to be engaging, and then henceforth the content creator's going to get some value out of it as well. So we've been very mindful about keeping the viewer central to the focus, and I think that production background has given us that awareness of getting a good experience.
So Dan, can you describe to us what this would look like? I know you've worked with Nike and Tommy Hilfiger and stuff, so what does that look like on screen for a consumer?
Well, the simplest form of it is probably a Facebook video sort of aspect, to give you an idea. So when you see a face walking from left to right on the screen, you'll actually see an overlay, a sort of a subtle point, a call to action over the face or next to the face, and you can click on that and then see, let's say, a Facebook profile. I mean, that's the most simple of use cases, but there is obviously a lot of commercial use in that. So we have people like Nike who will tag a pair of trainers in a feature lifestyle piece, for instance, and you click on that, you can see the product in a bit more detail, click through to buy. And then we also have people like ITV, of course, with The Only Way Is Essex, which is everyone's favourite show. And they've got a video where you can click on the characters.
How much appetite is there firstly from consumers? There's a lot of talk about video and how interested advertisers are in video, but what evidence have you got that consumers are really ready for this and that they want their video experience sort of intermediated by advertisers?
I think we always see this as an alternative to pre-roll and in-stream advertising, which is obviously disruptive to the viewing experience. What we are doing is offering the viewer the opportunity to click on something when they want to click on it because they are interested in that particular object. And we're seeing that viewers aren't turned off by it at all. Exactly an example that we did with a company called Okini, where they made this video where you could click on the guys and buy the clothes. And they found a 58% click-through rate from the guys to the product pages, and they made $20,000 worth of sales in just 2 weeks. And they're just a small niche fashion retailer based in East London, and for them it was enormous. So it proves that people are willing to engage with video content in this way, and even go as far as buying stuff from video.
So if you've got a luxury, high-end fashion brand, it's definitely worth them, according to you, putting the time into quite an intensive project and making this a one-off commercial, beautifully presented video. But how do you scale that? How do you take that to the mass market? Because you need to achieve some sort of scale, don't you, for this really to take off?
Yeah, I mean, that's what it's about. It's a tool. So right now, today, if you upload a video on wireWAX.com, we do lots of automation. We already detect faces and automatically motion track those faces throughout the entire video. So that's one job taken out. Most people will tag faces. The second stage is face recognition. So that's where we can identify your friends from your Facebook profile. We can also identify famous faces, perhaps politicians in newsreels. And that's where the product is really going. We're all about automation, making the process from a bit of a creative process, which it perhaps is at the moment, but get to the stage where it could be a few clicks and you're done. And that's key to making it scalable, because there are times, of course, when, that ITV project, for instance, where you want to create an experience for the viewer. You want to build something around the characters and everything else. But for a lot of cases, you just want 10,000 videos tagged and find the commercial opportunities for you. So that's the stage we want to get to.
Well, in storytelling, this is where this could get quite interesting, leaving aside the kind of the obvious e-commerce applications for what you're doing. How can you add rich context around a story or characters, or just contextualise? Who are you working with in that area? There seems huge potential there.
So we're seeing a lot of record companies doing things where they'll make consumer-facing electronic press kits, which would have traditionally been a sort of internal promotional thing for an artist, which are now, we're seeing music videos being tagged where you can click on an artist and listen to a track from the album, or look at YouTube videos of the band on tour, or see Instagram photos, all these sort of things, which are obviously incredibly engaging for viewers who are interested in that artist, which they wouldn't normally be able to get. And all these sort of digital assets that otherwise would have been sort of disparately put on other parts of the web are now contained within one shareable, interesting and engaging experience.
You're obviously based in London, but how important is it for you to crack America, and who are your competitors over there?
Well, America is obviously one of the biggest markets, and we've been very fortunate, particularly in the last 6 months. We've now got perhaps 50 or 60 top brands ranging from Nike, Tommy Hilfiger, Levi's, to use the product, and they were inbound sales. All of those people have come to us because they've seen the product and love it. And funny enough, most of them are from the US. So although this tool was built and born here, everything was made in London, it's actually been the commercial centre of the business since its early days, really. And I think that sort of plays to a wider point, which is that the UK, and particularly Europe, is a little bit slower at innovation, and possibly slower at just paying for innovation. We'll perhaps try it out for free, but Americans are, in our experience, willing to put up money to it and say, we'll invest in this, we'll actually use it. So that's been, amazing for the growth of the product over there. And, we've now got a team over there as well, account people and biz dev people that are really growing the tool and getting some amazing names in meetings and getting high up the ladder as well.
How many staff have you got in total, and how many in the States?
So there's 12 of us in total, 3 in the United States, and obviously we're looking to expand that as quickly as we possibly can. That's one of the main challenges for us, and certainly the challenge for many startups is just finding the right people.
Silicon Milk Roundabout, 11th and 12th of May. What hasn't worked? What have you tried that you failed at and has changed the direction of what you're trying to do?
I think it's always difficult because we're changing a medium, and so we are in a constant learning experience with that. We've had to monitor metrics very closely. We've had to go through a lot of experience testing. We hear a lot of things along the way about user experience. For instance, one of the things people often say is this tag is now part of the video experience. That's distracting. You can switch it off and it can be on auto, so mass sensitivity and all that sort of thing. But it's also like you've got to tell people they can interact with a video, and you've got to now think of wireWAX being part of the creative, as I was mentioning earlier, with it now being part of the experience. So these user experience learnings are some of the things we have to tackle, because we are having to say, well, no, it kind of has to be like that, because otherwise nobody knows they interact. And these are the things that are quite difficult, because we're trying to obviously not distract people and change an experience for anything but the better. But you've kind of got to be able to progress forward and show a new way of working at the same time. So those challenges are really difficult.
And we did some testing earlier on, and it was the younger audiences that were not upset about the viewing being disrupted by something hovering over the top of the video content. It was the older audiences that were almost turned off.
Old dogs and new tricks.
Yeah, and it was really surprising. The margin wasn't that old really. It was 35 and above were the people that were getting slightly upset about it, and it was ages below that were kind of expecting it. And I think we're getting to the point where generations coming up are going to be looking at video content and expect it to be as interactive as everything else on
as
the
web around it. And I think I mentioned this to you before as well. It's like video is the most analog part of the web. You know, computers are interconnected. Every document has an href to another document. And, you know, we are living in an interconnected web. And then you get to the video and it doesn't know what's going on. The computer doesn't understand that, you know, your friends in that video doesn't know there's a product you might be interested in. We don't understand that video other than pixels. And this is key to what we're trying to solve. And all of these challenges are going to be overcome by the viewer being part of the experience of building it.
And that is what wireWAX is all about, is making video as intelligent as it should be. You know, a byproduct of doing that is creating a hotspot technology, and that's the kind of our main offering, but it is about making computers understand pixels, that they represent a actor, your friend, or a product you like to buy. That's what it's all about.
Dan and Steve, thank you very much for coming in. It's been really interesting, and it's definitely something to watch.
Thank you.